Around 2 months ago, I put out a video warning people against strong nodes. And I was so convinced that I said I would delete my entire YouTube channel if I wasn't right. Since then, my predictions have not only come true, but the price of the Strong token has crashed even farther than I predicted. But I'm not here to take a victory lap. Since my last video, Strongblock, the company behind strong nodes, has released many different updates which have some people clinging onto hope that this project may still have some life in it. But that just isn't the case. Almost every update in the past few months negatively affect users and are just poor attempts at keeping this Ponzi scheme going. What's more, I now have proof to show that Strongblock is not actually running the nodes that they say they are on the Ethereum network, and that anyone who has purchased a node has actually received a useless RPC endpoint. If you haven't heard of strong nodes, then it may surprise you to learn that this dApp is actually one of the top 10 gas users on Ethereum mainnet over the last year. This is ahead of well-known applications like SushiSwap, Ethereum Name Service, and 1inch. Unfortunately, this speaks as much to coding inefficiencies as it does use in the protocol, but still, this scam is huge, and unfortunately, a lot of people have gotten roped into investing in this project. Coming up, I'm going to review what has changed with strong nodes in the past few months, and why all of these changes are not as good as Strongblock claims. I'm also going to tell you why Strongchain, the entirely new blockchain that Strongblock says it's building, will not be the answer to these problems. And finally, I'm going to show you why the nodes that investors are buying are actually not a node at all and completely worthless. If you are a strong node holder already, I recommend that you watch this video with an open mind. I got a lot of hate in the comments of my last video, and while I don't care about mean comments, I do care about saving people from scams like these. If you're interested in learning about the fundamentals of crypto projects below the surface, or if you just want to learn whether an investment opportunity is a scam or not, hit that subscribe button. Alright, let's get into the video. On this channel, we don't normally talk about price, but sometimes when I see a scam or a Ponzi scheme that is so obviously going to collapse, I can't help but warn you guys. I got into it with someone in the comments of my last video on strong nodes, and I'd said that if the price was higher than it was at that time, in 3 months, I would delete my channel. At the date of that comment, the price of strong was over $460. 3 months later, it was around $15. This collapse of the price happened for all the reasons that I laid out in my first video. Primarily, that this project is actually creating 0 things of value for the world, and for the most part, it is a closed system. The strong tokens have no value outside of creating more tokens, and the strong nodes ecosystem does not earn any meaningful fees from any outside sources. When there is a circular economy like this, which is very common in crypto, the value of those tokens is only dependent on new users coming in and nothing else. It's also important to note that even with a constant stream of new users coming in, these things are still impossible to sustain. If you have a Ponzi scheme with 100 people involved, it's not that hard to 10x to 1,000 people. But if you have a Ponzi scheme with hundreds of thousands of people involved, getting it to millions of people is a lot harder. Eventually, the number of people that are already invested in the project and are cashing out will be more than the amount of people that are being convinced to come in. As this happens, the price crashes and the whole thing unwinds. So if you're ever investing in a crypto project solely based on the idea that new investors coming in will boost the price, rather than looking at the fundamental services that that project is actually offering, then you're bound to lose money as a crypto investor. In the case of strong nodes, the only incentive to get involved is to make money. Nobody is actually using strong nodes as a service to get their own Ethereum node. One other common phrase to remember in crypto and DeFi is that if you don't know where the yield is coming from, then you are the yield. Strong nodes, without any real product to speak of, is a very cut and dry example of this. Strongblock supporters would counter that their platform does offer a service to customers, which is their node as a service. So let's talk about the node that you are actually purchasing from Strongblock. As I said in my last video, the amount of Ethereum nodes that they actually say that they have running is bigger than a lot of reports of the number of Ethereum nodes in existence. And they've never given any kind of hard proof that these nodes exist, except for the fact that they point you to an RPC endpoint when you spin up a node. An RPC endpoint is like a node's address. If you've ever interacted with the blockchain before, then you've done it through an RPC endpoint. Every active blockchain has public and free RPC endpoints, which most people use. But sometimes these public endpoints can get clogged, and there are advantages to having a private endpoint through your own personal node. When you buy a strong node from Strongblock, they will give you a custom RPC endpoint, which they imply is tied to the node that you are purchasing, as if they're setting up an Ethereum node on your behalf. But in reality, the RPC endpoints that they're giving their customers are actually meaningless. If they were actually creating an Ethereum node every time someone purchased a Strong node, the RPC endpoint would be a direct connection to that specific node. But I got an anonymous tip from a Strong node user that you can use any RPC address to hit the Strongblock's endpoint as long as it starts with mainnet.strongblock.url. For example, you can say mainnet.strongblock.url/strongnodes are a scam in your MetaMask, and it will work just as well as if you had actually bought a Strong node and received a custom endpoint from Strongblock. What this means is that these RPC endpoints that they are giving their customers are not actually unique and are all likely mapping to the same node. This is just more proof of what I was theorizing in my last video, that Strongblock's entire pitch of nodes as a service is false, and they're actually not helping the blockchain like they imply they are. The funny part is, if they really wanted to, they could have gated these RPC endpoints so that only an approved list of them would actually work, even if it was also still mapping to the same node. But it appears that their developers were just too incompetent or lazy to actually do this. The more I look into Strongblock, the more it seems that their software developers really have no idea what they're doing. One perfect example of this is their entangled nodes feature that they released. While they made this sound like a big breakthrough in the technology and used a technical sounding name like entangled nodes, in reality, this is just correcting coding inefficiencies that shouldn't have even existed in the first place. As far as I can tell, they're basically creating a single interface for all of an Ethereum address's nodes instead of needing that address to interact with each node individually. Inefficient code on Ethereum applications is very costly. Any competent blockchain developer would have built the Strong nodes like this from the beginning. This inefficient code is one of the reasons why Strong nodes has historically been one of the biggest gas consumers on the Ethereum network. This means that a lot of money was coming out of their users' pockets just to pay for transaction fees. If they actually cared about users, they would have never had their smart contracts be so horribly inefficient in the first place. But obviously, that's a moot point because this entire project is designed to take money from the hands of its users and investors into the founders. But it's just another red flag on top of the field of red flags that we've already uncovered. Lucky for Strongblock, however, is that they were able to market this minor improvement as some major milestone for the project, giving users the impression that developers are still working hard. These entangled nodes was also an excuse for them to add a cap to the rewards that were paid out by Strong nodes. As I covered extensively in the last video, the amount of Strong tokens that these nodes were printing meant for sure that Strong would enter an inflationary death spiral. At least that's what I thought. It turns out one of the biggest things that I got wrong in my last video was that there's actually a cap on the supply of Strong tokens. In hindsight, it's obvious why I got this wrong, because the system was literally designed to print infinity tokens, and it's very easy to create a token with infinity supply on the blockchain. So before, I actually assumed that there would be no cap on the token supply because it would put an artificial end-of-life date on the project. And this Strongblock team couldn't possibly be so short-sighted to see this, right? Apparently not. But luckily, they saved the day by creating a new token called Stronger, which does have the ability to inflate all the way to infinity, which means its value will inflate all the way to 0. Of course, as expected, they pass this off as an upgrade to the ecosystem, when it should be obvious to anyone that this token has even worse prospects than the original Strong token. And that's really saying something. One of the positive events that has happened in the last few months is that more and more people have become aware of the nature of this scam. Their community on Discord has been asking a lot more tough questions and has taken on a much more negative tone, as a lot of people are realizing that they may have been scammed out of their hard-earned money. Unfortunately, the mods in Discord have cracked down hard on any dissent and are banning anybody who asks too many questions, even if they were once hardcore supporters. The final remaining believers do have one thing that they are holding out hope for, however, and that is Strongchain. Strongchain is a planned launch of an entirely new blockchain specifically for the Strong nodes community. They released an entire white paper detailing Strongchain, which is too long to cover in this video, but I'll go into it in depth in another video. I'll make sure to put a link in the description and add a video card at the end of this video. But I'll quickly summarize the points on Strongchain. First, they have displayed almost no innovation in this new chain, and there's absolutely no reason for anyone to use it over existing chains. The Strong nodes community are the expected users of this new chain. But new interest in Strong nodes has flatlined, and activity in the community has been declining steadily with the price of the Strong tokens. Finally, copying a blockchain is actually very easy to do for a competent developer. Yet Strongblock has taken months without really releasing any tangible signs of progress during that time. Yet they have used every opportunity available to them to tease the release of Strongchain in order to give hopium to their hardcore supporters. If I had any friends or family interested in investing in strong nodes, I would tell them to stay away. And if they were already in the system, I would tell them to cash out as soon as possible. If you want to know why Strongchain will not save the project, watch my Strongchain white paper review. If you want to save other people from this scam, drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. And if I got anything wrong, let me know in the comments below. Hit subscribe if you want to stay updated, and I'll see you in the next video.